taught you to always trust your instincts, and right now, they're telling you something is coming. It's not just nerves, there's something out there. Okay. It's
Ooh.
I'm gonna do this one too.
There's a couple good choices here.
There is a couple good. That's what I want. I want audience participation. Of course, you guys don't have to vote, but the poll is up. Number 1 through 4. There may be a safe vantage point up on higher ground. 2 is first, I need to keep everyone calm. Pretty sure everybody's calm. You're the only one freaking out, bud. 3, I reach out to the spirit realm, the Aether. Let's see if anything responds. And 4, if I go out into the fields, I may be able to get a better look. Wow, that this could totally change everything about what happens next very clearly. So, I still feel like. Sorry, folks, I have to go now. Going out soon. It's 9 a.m. here. Wow. Hey, do it up. Thanks so much for dropping in and for the follow, of course. Yeah, we do this. Probably going to do this every Friday. We'll keep an eye on it. So times are subject to change because Grayce does have a job, and currently I don't. Number 1, there may be a safe vantage point up on higher ground. All right. I was going to choose number 2, but since this one's out,
I went with 3.
Nice. I reach out to see. I wanted to do that, but I wasn't sure if our character would do that yet. Maybe he would.
We had elixirs.
That's true.
Echo's chiming
What's up,
in,
Echo?
apparently.
I was going to say, Echo thinks that the first one's good. All right, sounds good, Echo.
Yeah.
There may be a safe vantage point up on higher ground. All right, let's take a look. Oh, interesting. These must be our stats. So you do have stats.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I kind of jumped ahead to just looking at the 4 choices that we have here. But yeah, if you want to read this one.
If I can hit the right button. You leave the umbrella with your fellow travelers and wander off the road into the mud. Making your way up to a nearby hillock, you find you can see a bit farther. Even from here, though, the fields are just fields. Still, if you squint, yes, there might be a hint of something dark out there, and there's a strange scent in the breeze. There's just a small hill ahead, so you climb up to get a better view. You were right, there's definitely something dark rolling in, though it's hanging back at the edge of your view. You know what Kent would say. He'd remind you that your calling demands you stay and discover the truth. That's why you're here, after all. Unfortunately, it's probably also why he's not. You have no shortage of memories of the times he stayed with a job too long and nearly got himself killed. So how thoroughly did you attend to his lessons?
Religiously, I was his only student, but I made up for that with my eagerness. Attentively, I wanted to learn the family business, but I had ideas of my own. Casually, I was curious about the occult, but there was always so much else to do. Or reluctantly, I learned how to keep myself safe, but this wasn't always the life I wanted. What do you think? I'm okay to pick this one, personally. I'm kind of like in between religiously and attentively.
Me too. That's exactly where I'm at. Like, I feel like we were pretty eager to learn, but I think that spirit that inhabited our uncle when we were younger probably left a good imprint on us, which would make us have ideas of our own.
Yeah, it could be because we were so interested to begin with, or at least what I had chosen earlier. That's why I'm listening so much. But at the same time, we could have gotten the bejesus scared out of us either by uncle or by spirit. So, yeah, I want to learn, but I'm actually not too sure if I should trust your ass.
Right.
I'm okay with attentively, personally. But I've always been that way where I'm like, I'll listen, but I'm pretty sure I have my own thoughts and stuff, particularly about the occult myself, because it's interesting stuff. All right. This was always the life for you. That was decided when your mother died and her brother took you in. but that's never really bothered you. You learned as much about the occult as Kent was willing to teach you, and he was willing to teach you quite a lot. You were well prepared for the things you've seen since he disappeared. Hauntings, possessions, you've seen it all, and you know how to handle it. Of course, some problems can't be solved with arcane skills. Oh, okay, so I'll actually put this one in poll. What are our other skills? 1, 2, 3. I should probably set this up before I come to it so it's faster. Okay, 1, I've worked steadily on expanding our family's business. 2, I've also stayed in good physical condition. Or 3, I've learned to be convincing. So far our stats are probably very heavy on etiquette, because we're nice, and obviously the ability to ghost hunt, or arcane type stuff. Now it's are we a buff dude? Are we, speed talkers kind of thing? Or are we frugal or wealthy because of our business sense?
What is the family business? I thought the family business was the ghost hunting stuff.
Maybe it is, yeah. I guess I'm not sure. I would assume as much.
I feel
so it's the monetary side of things?
Yeah, so I voted for number 1 because I felt that we had our own ideas from the last answer. We were attentive, and then we expanded the family business of ghost hunting. That's kind of the way I took that one.
Roll a die.
Oh, we got a three-way tie.
We got a three-way tie, yeah. I like the idea of... Yeah, I chose physical condition because I thought that would just be good to be an all-rounded kind of person. But I like the idea. I like them all, frankly. I think they could all work. So, as I have mentioned before, and I don't know if you guys heard, when in doubt, we go to the dice, just like in D&D. Let the dice tell us. 1 to 2 is I work steadily on family business. 3 to 4, sorry. I've also stayed in good physical condition. And 5 to 6, I learned to be convincing. I believe it is I've learned to be convincing. I am a silver-tongued devil on top of being arcanely imbued. Sounds weird. You're a fairly smooth talker, which has helped you find your way into many clients' hearts, and more importantly, their coffers. Ooh. See, I'm a businessman too. We get both. We could get the best of both worlds. You may not be able to charm a restless spirit into banishing itself, but at least you can generally convince the people it's haunting to flee. All right, cool. I think it makes sense for this character. Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, so I guess we have one more. Be nice to...
I'm gonna vote physical for this one because I feel like we need to be buff for this line of work, especially if we have Dev, who doesn't seem to be very buff.
Yeah, it might be good to be taking a hit. I've worked on the business as much as I can. So yeah, it sounds like our business is like ghost hunting or something equivalent type of thing. My social calendar hasn't left me much time for else. Yeah, I think try to stay in shape. Yeah, I think I'd probably choose that as well. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of on the same page for that one. Cool. I'm a buff guy. I need to take a hit from these poltergeists and demons and stuff. Okay. It certainly helps when the situation calls for running. For all your skill, though, you're well aware of your own limitations. You might want to help people, but occult investigation is a business like any other. No one expects an accountant to stand between his clients and the tax collector. Neither should you be expected to stand and fight every malevolent spirit that crosses your path. You don't let your nerves stand in the way, you simply know when to fight and when to take your leave. This time, however, you probably can't avoid it. The coachman is still plugging away at his work, and the horses don't look the least bit inclined to move. That might change when the danger reveals itself. You've always found terror to be an impressive motivator. You're sure you see something now. A thick, black wave rolling in over the field. It's still distant, churning over itself like it's struggling with something within. Each moment you delay brings it a little closer. The coachman needs a helping hand. Evil forces can't harm what they can't catch. It's like, we gotta get out of here. If I set arcane defenses between us and the creature, I can slow it down. Damaged wheel or not, it's time to convince everyone to leave. I kind of think it would make sense for him to pop up some arcane defenses. What do you guys think?
I think so too. I think number 2.
Especially since that's like that was the primary stat we probably have from what I can tell, so it's probably our wheelhouse. No.
Especially since we had like elixirs and we talked about it before.
Yeah. Let's go with that one. If you want to take this one.
In this weather, you have fewer options than you'd like. Salt is out. It'll get washed away before it can do any good. There are no surfaces dry enough to draw any symbols of protection. You could burn some of your herbs under the umbrella, but no, the smoke won't travel far enough.
Oh. You may want to return to your prayers, Miss Fairchild.
You hear Dev say behind you. There's the whomp of the umbrella closing, and then he presses it into your hand. Its tip is sharp enough to dig into the wet ground, and that tip is made of iron. Depending on what you face, that might be enough. The presence of iron will keep some spirits at bay. You hastily sketch protective symbols in 3 defensive points between the carriage and the fields. If they don't wash away, they might be of some help. You try to keep concern from your voice when you ask the coachman how much longer he'll be.
As long as it takes,
he replies, grumbling something under his breath about idiotic passengers. The creature isn't moving slowly any longer. As it scents its prey, it rushes forward.
My heart pounds faster. I can't seem to take a full breath. My hands are shaking and they won't stop. I hear a strangled whimper and realize it's my own. Wow.
What?
All right. I don't think I'm letting people choose on this one. They all seem stupid except for my heart pounds faster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just choosing that one. It's like, seriously? Yeah, if you want to keep going.
Okay. You can hear the rush of blood in your ears. The sledge spreads towards you, thick and oily, reaching blindly ahead with blunt appendages. Your stomach churns and sweat prickles your palms. You haven't seen anything like this before, but it's obviously nothing good. Dev's fingers wrap around your arm and he tugs you back a step. It's still a good dozen yards away or more, but that distance is closing.
We have to go, now.
He insists, his voice a steadying force. You look back, the coachman is still blithely unaware.
Miss Fairchild, get in the cab.
She's transfixed by the vicious monstrosity that approaches, but your voice snaps her out of it.
Now!
You add sharply, and she goes for the door. The coachman slams his hand across it before she can get it open.
Did I not make myself clear? Stay out till I tell you otherwise.
She points to the field, her eyes wide with fear. The coachman squints at the approaching sledge and frowns.
What in the...
He steps out to get a closer look. Too late, you realize the coachman has stepped past the ring of protective symbols. A tendril of inky blackness snaps forward. It whips around his leg and he stumbles, howling in pain.
Damn. Oh my god. If nobody else understands that line from the making fun of D&D thing. I attack the darkness. I'll have to play that sometime. It's such a good line. There's such a good little skit. I attack the darkness, reciting incantation. I attempt to banish it. It's too late for the coachman. I run for the carriage. If the creature wants him, it will have to tear him from my grasp.
I feel like that's a possibility where he'll get like ripped in half.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things he said is he's never seen anything like it before, so frankly, he probably doesn't know how to actually fight the bloody thing.
Right.
I think being behind... Yeah, 2 sounds like a reasonable idea, Kat.
Mm-hmm.
Staying behind the staying behind the wards and reciting some sort of incantation. At least it's some attempt to save the guy.
Right, same.
I know ghosts. Well, I from my general knowledge of ghosts. Like cold iron is a good thing to have against them, but we don't really know if this is a ghost. It looks more corporeal than that. So, yeah, I'm okay with 2. What do you think?
I think 2's a good choice.
I think we're probably going to fight at least somehow. We're not just going to book it. Okay, let's try it. You've never tried this on something so massive, but you know words that will drive some spirits back. You grab the coachman and you shout them into the rising darkness. The mass is not banished, but it rears back like it's been burned. Its grip on the coachman slips. He scrambles backward, horrified. Go! You shout, and you run for the carriage. Dev has the door open, but you can't leave. Miss Fairchild is still standing in the road, frozen in horror. Oh, seriously, lady? Keeping my voice low and gentle, I carefully lure her back. Oh, no, she doesn't. I drag her back to the carriage. I talk her through this, keeping it light. I throw a bit of arcane light between them to drive the creature back. She's already lost, but Dev and I can still escape with our lives.
Oh my.
Apparently the coachman's already dead too, because I didn't even think about him.
Right.
Okay, we've shown to be something of a gentleman. I don't think we're just gonna let her die. So 5 is out. I don't know. The other ones I think are all.
I kind of like 2 or 4. Because you do have the physical strength, so you could just be like, snatch, toss. And then you also have the arcane power.
I like the idea of the arcane light for 2 reasons. One is that she's religious, and light might kind of like bring some concept of like God or whatever, like helping her, like an angel. And so it might break her, whatever's freezing her. But it also might defend against the creature. Right. So, but I agree. I think 2 is like, all right, seriously, get the fuck out of the carriage.
We don't have time for your bullshit.
I will leave those 2. I'll do 2 or 4 as a poll and see what everybody thinks. 2 or 4. I think I'm gonna go with this one. I think we're gonna go with the arcane light. I just feel like at the very least it's gonna have some effect on darkness. Like I know it seems very elementally simple, but sometimes simple is best. So let's do that. You mutter the words as quickly as you can, stumbling over familiar syllables. I'm stumbling a lot in my syllables too. In your hurry. A flare of painfully bright light flashes between Miss Fairchild and the creature. It only lasts a moment, but a dozen discordant voices scream from the darkness and the thing rears back. The light startles Miss Fairchild into action. She twists around and tries to run for safety, but the mud slips under her foot. She cries out as she stumbles. The creature recovers its faculties and surges forward, limbs slithering toward her, and she desperately scrambles away. But you and Dev are there. You haul her back, dragging her to the shelter of the carriage. The 3 of you scramble to safety, and not a moment too soon. Dev pulls you in, and you all hear the sound of horses screaming in terror. The coachman barely grabs on before they charge forward, yanking the carriage along in their wake. You nearly tumble out when you grab for the door, but Dev has you. You crouch in the foot of the carriage as you come down from the fear of mortal danger. The carriage jostles as it careens down the road, but the damaged wheel seems to hold. Well, that seemed to work out way better than I expected it to.
I thought when she was... I didn't read ahead. I was like reading with you, and I thought when she went down that she for sure was monster bait.
Yeah, I think the stun. Yeah, we did do it, man. I think because the creature was stunned long enough to like from the light, it seemed to hurt it, right? So it allowed us to.
Alive.
Yeah, hey, we saved everybody. It's great.
We did.
We totally won. Yeah. right, this is all too much. I can hardly breathe for horror. What are with these pants? Sorry, these pansy answers. It's like, dude, freaking man up. Oh, so funny. What was that creature? I'm fine. I can handle this. Me talking myself down.
I'm fine. I can handle this.
I'm actually thinking he'd be more interested in, like, what the hell was that thing anyway?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Kat? Seriously though, I kind of want to replay this and just pick all
the pansy answers.
The scaredy cat answers. Like, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna say, what was that creature? Maybe like try and pour over my.
Mm-hmm.
You've never seen anything that like that monstrosity. What could it have been? No common spirit, no ghoul or ghast, but it certainly wasn't of the natural world either. You could learn so much from examining Thud! Okay.
Not examining anything anymore.
Oh no!
Ooh.
Bulging, oily tendrils smack against the window. You and Miss Fairchild both scramble backward. Someone screams. Maybe you. You could only watch, eyes wide, as blunt, viscous fingers drag themselves along the seam of the carriage door, feeling blindly for an opening. One finds purchase and prods its way into a small gap. You cast about for something to attack it with, but then the carriage jackknifes around a corner and the limbs tear away. You close your eyes and wait, counting the seconds. Though you're not sure you even dare to hope for it, your luck holds out. The monstrosity falls out of reach behind you. The repairs to the wheel hold, and you're somehow still intact. The ride steadies out after a few intense minutes. You can finally breathe. I like that one. I like that.
That was good.
Had to have that Indiana Jones moment, you know, where just one last guy's on the hooking on or whatever. That's good. You want to take this one?
Sure. With your clothes soaked through, it doesn't take long for the chill in the air to take hold of you. Wyford is still a league away or more, and you note with some concern that your fingers already feel stiff and clumsy. It doesn't seem to matter how much you rub your hands together or blow into them. You need genuine warmth, and there's none of that left in the rattling carriage. As you keep thinking about that creature, something was wrong with it, and more than the obvious. Like any spirit, it had the feel of the Aether on it. But it felt foreign, too, unlike any spirit or denizens of the Aether you've seen. Stone walls rise in the distance, looming on the hill. Darnacroy House, if you're not mistaken. The manor has stood for well over 500 years, according to Dev's research. Once it stood against Scottish raids, but now its high walls only serve to keep the secrets locked away from your prying eyes. If what little you gleaned from your uncle's notes holds true, the manor may well be the nexus of occult activity. Granted, Kent was never very good at keeping notes. It's a problem you had to deal with your whole life, but never more than since his disappearance. 3 years ago, you were happily living your life. You'd left home for a time, and you were off making the most of your freedom. When the news reached you, you were away learning more of the world and honing talents that remain with you still.
All right. I suspect we'll have several choices here. What did we do? 1 through 4 pulls up. Number 1, I was tracking a malevolent spirit across the Mont Blanc Glacier. Mont Blanc, I suppose, probably French. 2, I was with my latest mentor, a medium whose talent was only matched by her wit. Nice. 3, I was buried in my studies at the University of London. Or 4, I was sharing tales of terror, among other things, at a salon hosted by a baroness. So what was our last job, basically? I know which one I like. Everybody liked the same one. Alright. Let's go with that one, assuming it says 3. I was with my latest mentor, a medium whose talent was only matched by her wit. I like that idea. I think that sounds great. Mm-hmm. It's also like maybe a kindred spirit too, right?
Right.
Seeing spirits was one thing. Speaking with them was another matter entirely. To learn the trick of it, you enlisted the help of one Elizabeth Johannes, a medium whose reputation was well-deserved. Like all the rest, she dabbled in confidence scams and magician's tricks at times, but unlike most, she had genuine ties to the spirit realm. That didn't keep her from teaching you all sorts of clever things about reading people and seeing the things others tend to miss. Handy for a clairvoyant with a reputation to maintain, and she was known as one of the best. She also happened to be one of the most charming individuals you've had the pleasure to work with. On the day you first learned of Kent's disappearance, she was finally allowing you to speak to a spirit, though still through her, as you hadn't mastered the skill yourself. Well, that sucks. Oops, sorry. You found yourself listening more than speaking, paying rapt attention as the spirit told you a harrowing tale of betrayal and vengeance. His eyes blazed with blue fire as he spoke of the brother who abused him and cast him out, the woman he loved and lost, the wife and child he hated, and the revenge he took on all of them.
Oh my.
Lizzie, yeah, that's dark. That's definitely the first conversation you want to have with the dead. Lizzie waited until afterward to ask, all innocence, if you'd read the rather scandalous Wuthering Heights. It seemed her pet spirit was known to exaggerate and read over one's shoulder at times. A pulse of arcane power severed you from your connection to the Aether. Lizzie slumped forward, stunned by the sudden shift. Sorry. After a moment of panic, you discovered that you were the source. Or rather, the source was an amulet you always kept close, meant to alert you when its partner was destroyed. There weren't many ways that could happen, and none boded well for your uncle. Lizzie was all sympathy when she came back around. She offered to host a seance, so you'll know for sure, she said. Interesting. That was a little bit confusing. It seemed like to jump for a second. I'm just rereading this.
Okay, so I think I found the jump. The jump is on the day you first learned. And then it went into that story.
Yeah. So yeah, basically you're talking to her, trying to learn how to talk to ghosts. You talked to the ghosts, heard his story, and then this is the part where you read the rather scandalous Wuthering Heights.
Yes. So basically the ghost told you a story that is Wuthering Heights. So like his wife and child that he hated and their revenge, that's the plot of Wuthering Heights.
Oh, gotcha. So you can tell that I'm not well read in that particular area, apparently, because I was like, I don't have a clue where that jump was. So he's telling, okay, gotcha, little devil. Okay. So what do we do? Do we think we actually would have like taken her offer for a seance to talk to our uncle, or at least see if he's dead? To miss her ridiculous offer, rushed home, accept the offer, desperate for any information I could get.
I don't think we would be desperate. I kind of like number 4 because we would want to increase our gifts, but also maybe find out what happened to our uncle.
Yeah. I think even just the lesson of what a seance would do, or like how to do one, like maybe will come in handy for us to have to do one in the future or something. So, and we seem to like obviously trust her to some degree, so I'm okay with 4. I think that's a reasonable choice. The seance gave you the opportunity to observe Lizzie at work. She sank into the Aether almost as easily as you could, but her presence drew spirits to her in a way that yours didn't. A dangerous trait. You and Kent had once dealt with a possession that started as a simple seance, and it hadn't been pretty. On the whole, you were probably better off without her natural talent, but her skill set was another matter. When she failed to snag Kent's spirit, she piled apologies on you like blankets. You found them just as smothering. You floated the idea of staying a little longer, just until you could pick up the skill of speaking with spirits unsupervised. But she practically pushed you out the door with her overwhelming concern for your uncle's well-being. She seems nice enough.
Mm-hmm.
You want to take this one?
Sure. Kent was long gone by the time you reached your family home, but you didn't really expect otherwise. That's when the nightmare started, and the sudden onset of nervous ailment. The first time you found yourself curled up behind a counter. Oh, really?
Hi, Echo.
Hands shaking for reasons you couldn't understand. You knew that finding him was the only thing that would bring you a modicum of peace. He could have done a better job of covering his tracks if he'd tried, but his casual disregard for niceties like notes, appointment books, or filing systems made it nearly impossible to discover his whereabouts. In dealing with his outstanding legal matters, you met Devon Skidar, a solicitor who became utterly fascinated by both your line of work and untangling the mess of Ken's research. To the great disappointment of the family, he set aside his career to work for you on the condition that you teach him about the occult. Within a matter of months, after more than one near-death experience in the field, you came to rely on him. Once financial concerns made the two of you housemates in Kent's flat, you took to behaving more like childhood friends than professional associates. Far too familiar for polite company. Dev keeps you grounded and smooths out the rough edges of your personality, like the nerves you can't seem to tamp down at times. He has almost no sense for anything in or beyond the aether, but his talents for research have been an undeniable help. Over time, between jobs that kept the family business afloat, the two of you managed to piece together the few scraps of an investigation your uncle left behind. Eventually, you could even name his destination with some level of certainty. Wyford, a speck of a town in the northwest. With that destination in hand, you had a starting point for your own investigation. Bit by bit, you and Dev managed to retrace Kent's steps.
If I was anybody in this story, I would be Dev. I don't have a clue about any of the occult stuff. Like, zero internal, like, mechanism of, like, oh yeah, I totally understand that. Like, I get the research part of it. I understand it. But I have zero experience with any of that stuff. And I'd probably, like, ground somebody who's a little... It does sound like we, like, have some kind of, like, fear complex or something, because just weird. All right, cool. Once I earned the trust of the witnesses Kent sought, we had a breakthrough. The case broke when I encouraged some of his contacts to talk. Just start beating some dude up. Where is he? Just become Batman all of a sudden.
No. First, you would offer them money because you're a businessman, right? So you'd offer them money, and then when they wouldn't talk, be like, "All right, I didn't think I'd have to roll up my sleeves."
That's right.
And then you beat them up.
First, I'm Bruce Wayne, and then I'm Batman, is what you're saying.
Right.
Divination was the last resort, but it turned out to be the key. We spent hours digging through old records and arcane texts, and there we found the answer. What skills would we have employed? I kind of like the idea of not doing any magic for this one. Like, to not... Because I want to be a little bit more well-rounded than that, I think. Where it's like, I'm not always, like, relying on the aether and stuff, because, you know, good old-fashioned
Do you think you would be, like, the kind of person who encouraged someone to talk? Or do you think you would just talk to witnesses?
I don't know, I feel like there's conflicting... let's make a poll for it. I'm not sure. I'll put it up there. And just because there's conflicting things from the story so far, not too extreme, but like, okay, well, I seem to have like a fear complex that Dev kind of tamps down a little bit. So the idea of me being like the big buff guy to go beat somebody up or threaten seems unlikely because of that. Maybe it's just like I have a fear of ghosts, and the living, like, I could give a crap about is like, oh, I deal with demons all day. I don't care about your 6'3" frame. But we are a fast talker, so the first one makes sense to me. So we have like some social ability, but that kind of conflicts with what was set up here. Is that I have some rough edges, so. We spent hours taking. I think 1 and 4 are kind of what I'm going for here. 1, 2. I didn't vote. Sorry. I think the first one makes sense the most to me.
Nice. That's what I voted for.
Yeah. We talked our way in that. Okay. The witnesses you managed to find all seemed like dead ends. There were 3, 2 young women and a middle-aged man. None knew any of the others, and all had visited Wyford in different years. All had also come back traumatized. Unfortunately, they all claimed to remember nothing of their experience. Not where they went, not who they saw. Nothing. You were about ready to give up on the lot of them when one of the young women let slip something important. She also couldn't remember anything about a cousin she was told she'd traveled with. A cousin who hadn't returned. Something had taken the memories of these people before sending them, and they had one other thing in common, as it turned out. They'd all visited the town in advance of the autumnal equinox. I don't know why I can't say that word. Autumnal, whatever. None could recall why exactly, but you dredged up a letter from the gentleman to his brother that included a single mention of an invitation from a Reeves, quite possibly Nathaniel Reeves, Baron of Wyford. Popularly known as the Banished Baron, though so far as you could tell, he was under no exile. And when the leads dried up and the investigation went awry, read, Michael. Nathaniel Reeves turned out to be dead, and you could learn little of his heir. No more news came out of Wyford. You kept searching, but eventually you had to accept that it came down to this. A half-baked plan to visit the region near the equinox, escape the attention of any dark entities, and rout out whatever evil was corrupting the place. Hopefully, you'd locate your uncle in the process. Do you really believe that you might still find him alive? I don't know. What do you guys think? I'll put this one up. There's 5 choices on this one. Sweet. Good thing there's 5 things I can put on this.
What's the Cliff Notes?
Cliff Notes is, we found 3 people who basically had no memory that they visited Wyford, and this one chick was like, oh, actually, people keep telling me I went with my cousin, but I don't even remember that cousin. So it seems like even the memory of her cousin is missing. But there's very, very little evidence that your uncle is there, but it's the best that you got. And the one thing that's mentioned is this Spanish Baron Nathaniel Reeves, but apparently he's dead and we don't know who his heir is, so it's kind of like... A
previous chapter did say there were missing people, too.
Yeah. So we're kind of like, this is our hottest lead, essentially, but it's fickle. Anyway, so the last question is, do you really believe that your uncle is alive? Yes, he is more resourceful than anyone I've met. I have hope, but it seems... Excuse me. Which seems increasingly unlikely. I believe so, but I cannot bear to believe otherwise. Not really, but I won't be able to rest until I know. No, but he left a job unfinished and I intend to resolve that. Oof. How do you think we actually feel about our uncle? Do we actually give a crap about this guy, or are we just like accept him as our very learned teacher and got everything from him?
Yeah, I feel like he's more of a mentor. I don't feel like he was like that father figure to us or anything.
Yeah. How much of a loyalty? Like, so I'm thinking 4 or 5, frankly.
I was thinking 1, because he was pretty resourceful. Like, when he found a
That's
spirit
fair.
hovering over you, he was like, boom, 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 assault, sigils, all of that.
I voted for 4. Oh, and
that
so did somebody
makes
else.
sense, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, we're probably skeptical based on, like, I think because the amulet blew up, but it's sort of like, okay, even though it might not be out of, like, adoration for our uncle, it's sort of like, well, he's taught me everything I know, and it could be dangerous, and I really need to know whether this guy's alive, because it's kind of like maybe even family duty type of thing. So, anyway, let's do 4, since that was voted upon. Could anyone really survive for 3 years in hostile territory? Something traumatic destroyed his amulet. How likely is it that he fared better? If there are answers to be found, you're finally on your way to discovering them. Smoke rises from the chimneys of Wyford ahead. You are exhausted and near frozen, so you can only hope that the town isn't openly hostile. If you can talk your way into a warm meal and a bath before everything goes straight to hell, perhaps something will be salvaged from this day, after all. Wait, sorry I missed that. Somebody else has a name, Zell. I said Cap. Didn't I say Cap?
No, you're like, somebody else voted too.
I think we all presumed that it was you.
I presumed it was Cap.